This is Faith from For Real Media.
2 years ago this month, my husband and mother started an affair without my ex-husband, but at the time, my husband and mom were actively having their affair, and I had no idea.
So how did I find out that my husband was sleeping with my mom? One thing that kind of shifted and changed in their behavior was that when they would greet each other hello or say goodbye, instead of it being like a side, like pat, 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 like hello, goodbye, she would like wrap her arms around his neck and he would like swing her around in a circle. He also started giving my mom foot rubs in front of me. 2 days before I found out about the affair, he brought home flowers for me and for my mom. But the biggest red flag, on multiple occasions, with multiple witnesses, my mother and ex-husband would say, if Catherine and her dad ever were to tragically pass away simultaneously, we would totally end up together. I didn't want to believe it was happening. I didn't want to accept that the two people I trusted the most in this whole world could betray me like that. But I finally knew I wasn't crazy when my grandmother, my mom's mother, came to me and expressed that she had a feeling something was going on between my mom and my husband. So I asked her, what do I do? Do I confront them? Do I ask them? Because in my head, I still didn't want to believe that something was happening. And sure, everything that was happening was insanely inappropriate, but it doesn't outright 100% prove that an affair is happening.
Before we get right back to the story, what is your thoughts on this? And let me know if you have been through such situations before. Honestly, I feel bad about this type of thing because one can easily forgive a lot of things, but this particular situation of her mum and her spouse having an affair is so different. These are people she have known and trusted with her whole life. Having them do this type of thing under her nose and even wished her dead so they can be together is so hard to believe. She was really fooled by the two people she believed in. I really feel her pain, but then let's get back to the story.
So my grandma, bless her heart, she encouraged me that the truth always comes to light, and she encouraged me to just sit and wait. That night, I got proof. So that night, he had told me that he'd be home around 9, and when 9:30 came around and I hadn't heard from him, I reached out to him. Specifically, I FaceTimed him. So he answered, and I asked him what time he thought he would be home and if I needed to have dinner ready for him or if I could just go to bed. He had expressed that he had lost track of time and didn't realize how late it had gotten and that he would be heading home soon. He said, don't worry about dinner. I'll just hit a drive-thru on the way home. Now, as he's talking, I'm paying attention to the background. He's in his car, but he's parked. And I notice out his driver's side window, the buildings behind him, and I realize that I recognize them. But I recognize them as being in the city we live in, not the city that he says he was in. And then all of a sudden, I can't make out what was said, but I could hear a woman's voice. And he turns over to his passenger seat as if listening to that voice speaking. So I take a few minutes to literally have a panic attack and cry and process that I think I'm right. Oh my gosh, he's having an affair. Is it my mom? Is it somebody else? I'm freaking out. So I FaceTime him again and he answers. And I again am just asking him, what is going on? Why are you lying? I know you're with somebody. I'm not stupid. And he accuses me of being crazy and not trusting him. So then I say, show me the passenger seat. And he says, no. And he hangs up on me again. So then I cry and I freak out even more, collect myself, and I call him again on FaceTime. And I am like, what the is happening? Like, if you're not hiding anything, why won't you just show me? If I'm crazy, then just show me and prove yourself correct. And says, I'll be home soon. I'll talk to you later. And hangs up on me again. So at this point, I'm like 99% sure that it's my mom. So then I decided to call my little sister because she was still living at home with our parents at the time. Through my tears, I managed to get the words out that I'm trying to say. And I ask her if our mom is home. And she goes, I don't know.
I'm in bed, like it's late at night. What's going on? Are you okay? Are the babies okay? And I said, I really just need you to do me a favor and find out if Mom is home. And she goes, why? What's going on? And I say, sister, I really need you to go find out if Mom is home. And she goes, okay, I don't want to keep this from you. Your husband came by earlier tonight and picked Mom up to take her door dashing with him, and they told me not to tell you. And that confirms that I was right, that they were together. So this time I called my mom. She didn't answer, so I called her again and again and again, and I called her 8 times. And when she finally answered, she goes, what, Catherine? And again, through my weeping, I just said to her, just tell me why. And she goes, why what? And I said, you know what? And I can hear my husband in the background saying, put it on speaker, put it on speaker. So I hear her muffle with her phone to put it on speaker. And then she goes, tell you why I'm with your husband. And then she goes on this rant about how she had a really bad day today, and my husband had reached out to her earlier to see how she was doing, and after she told him, he went to go pick her up to get her out of the house to have some fresh air, and there's nothing wrong with that. I then addressed my husband because I knew I was on speakerphone, and I let him know that before he took her home, they both needed to get to our house so the 3 of us could have a chat. So eventually they got to the house, and when they walked in, they tried to come hug me. And I told them, do not fucking touch me. And I looked both of them dead in their eyes. And I said, are you two fucking each other? Without even so much as moving a muscle in his face, my husband looks at me and says, no. And my mother says, I would never cross that boundary. But of course I knew the truth. I knew. Even without them admitting it, I knew. So I ended up telling my mom to get the hell out of my house, and I went to bed. I didn't sleep. It was not until the next day that they finally decided to come clean and admit that they were in fact having an affair, while I confronted my husband. Luckily, I was smart enough to pull up my phone and hit record before our conversation began. And he admitted to the whole affair. He admitted to everything. In detail, he told me about how horrible of a wife and a mom that I was, and that he deserves better. He had no remorse. In fact, he seemed proud. And after he admitted to having an affair with my mom in my bed, he immediately began to talk about how we were going to split custody and what we were going to do with the house. And he revealed to me all the credit card debt that he had racked up that I had no idea about. He had it all planned out. Ooh, I did not think I'd start crying. I don't cry about this a lot anymore because I've had a lot of time to process it. But after I recorded that whole conversation, I realized, that this is my life, this is happening. And I've got 2 precious babies that I need to protect from growing up in an environment that my husband and mother were going to provide. He told me that if he couldn't stand me, he could leave, but that he was not going to leave his house, that this was his house. So I knew that I had to go because I wasn't going to argue with him. So I packed the 3 suitcases that I own with the absolute necessities that my daughters and I would need. Mind you, at this point, they were 11 months old. Eventually found out that they were at my grandma's house, who also lives just down the street. And then, like I said before, my mom moved in that same night too. So that is the story of how I caught my husband having the affair and my mom having the affair and how I found out.
You can tell that the mom and her husband have had everything all planned out. I feel like the husband really wanted to be with her, in my opinion, and not the wife, because she said immediately she left the house with her kids and mum packed in to live with the husband. This whole situation is crazy and wired. How do one explain this? That her own mother snatched her husband from her? Oh, wow. Something that if someone would have told her, she wouldn't believe it, because those are the people she thought are her own, people she thought would have her back at all times, are the ones that turned back to hurt her feelings and emotions. I love the way God exposed them to her on time, because those two lovers may actually plan of killing her without her knowing. Men, this so crazy. No one deserves such treatment from the people they love. It was better as she cut off ties with both of them. I really applaud her bravery for speaking up. She was really a strong woman for standing up for herself and kids. I would say the mum is so despicable for wrecking her daughter's home. Her parents failed her because the dad supported the wife and still accepted the mum back into his home after breaking and wrecked their daughter's marriage. That's so evil of them. Is good. She have started a new life away from those bad family, wishing her and her kids the very best. What is your opinion on this situation? Comment in the video, like and subscribe to the channel.